The mental health field has classified it as an epidemic. I speak of loneliness. To think that in the 21st century that loneliness is an epidemic. Robert Putnam, in his book entitled Bowling Alone, states this, and I quote him, "Never in the history of the world have people been able to communicate so much, but be connected so little. We communicate with Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Skype, and Facebook, but relationally, we are disconnected from deeper relationships." End quote. Statistics show that less than 10% of all men, please get this, less than 10% of all men have a true best friend. Now that's someone that goes beyond playing sports or having a beer together. A true best friend. So this morning, we turn to David and Jonathan, who model a friendship, a connection, an authentic relationship that we can all learn from. Because they did some certain things to build this connection, this friendship. Let me share just a few. The first thing they did is that they were aware of one another. Please understand that this certainly was not a usual relationship, especially if you look from the socioeconomic standards of both. David was a shepherd, Jonathan a prince. They would not regularly become friends, but Jonathan was aware and was willing to bridge the gap of their differences. And I think that's a wonderful wake-up call for all of us here this morning. It is so easy to associate and befriend only those who look like us, only those who act like us, live like us, believe like us, worship like us, and fail to see the richness and blessing of diversity. God may very well have already placed someone in each of our lives who is very different from us, but if we become aware of them, it may lead to a wonderful friendship. David and Jonathan were aware, but they were also intentional. Jonathan took the initiative. It's important to see that Jonathan had the power position over David. But Jonathan flips that around. Jonathan intentionally befriends David and crosses the barrier of influence, authority, and supremacy. The reality, I believe, is that we seldom, if ever, drift into relationship. Deep friendships do not just happen by rolling out of bed in the morning. To have a friend, you know it, you must be a friend. And that takes attention, intention, and effort. Jonathan and David were also available for each other. Here we see David finding himself in the crosshairs of Jonathan's father, King Saul, who's trying to kill him. Their friendship had just crossed over to an urgent crisis where life was hanging in the balance. I call that a 2 o'clock a.m. friend. Got any? A 2 o'clock a.m. friend. The one person you can call night or day who will show up when no one else would. Because the simple fact is, friends, we often have many 2 o'clock p.m. friends. The 2 o'clock p.m. friends who simply say, "I'll pray for you." But the 2 a.m. friend asks, What can I do with you? Jonathan and David were aware of each other. They were intentional. They were available. But they were also honest with each other. As we were reading, we see David fearing for his own life and pleads with Jonathan not to betray him by handing him over to King Saul. There, Jonathan lays his heart before David, not knowing the whole story of his father's evil, and is honest, laying it all on the line directly to David. When Jonathan eventually learned the truth regarding King Saul's desire to assassinate David, he shared the uncomfortable truth with him directly. Now, with that history lesson behind us, what can that teach us? What can we glean as we construct and create our own authentic friendships? A few thoughts. We first must be willing to enter the experience of others. Like Jonathan, we must be willing to enter into the wilderness that other people find themselves in. A word of caution. A word of reflection. I believe if you find one of those people in your life, if you just have one 2 a.m. friend, man, you are blessed. If you have 2 or 3 of them, you are blessed beyond blessed. Bishop T.D. Jakes describes the 3 types of relationships in our lives. The first he calls comrades. These are people who are against what you're against. If you're against something, they're right there beside you, being against it. Now, please realize they don't give a rip about you. It's all about the cause. And as soon as something else comes down the pike that they're against, they're gone. He then talks about our constituents. Now, this is a little different. These are people who are for what you're for. If you're for something, they'll stand right there with you, being for it also, until someone else comes along that's for something they're for more than you, because it was never about you. The third he calls confidence, where both of you are willing to enter the experience all in, no holes barred, and on purpose. Friends, if you have one of them, you are blessed in your lifetime. This experience, however, that expands and deepens when we are in that relationship where we can constantly and consistently encourage one another. The word encourage actually means to pour courage into. Encourage. To pour courage into someone else. Let's go back to the book of Job. Remember Job? He was going through it. Remember his 3 friends? They were the opposite of pouring courage into Job. They were analyzing Job. A true friend helps us fashion our potential and leave us restored rather than scrutinized. I know some of you don't have any friend like that. The result of an authentic friendship is an expansion of becoming all that God creates us to become on both sides of that friendship. Don't miss this point. Jonathan had every right to envy David and reject him as a friend. You see, in the kingdom, Jonathan should have been the next king. He was next in line to the throne, but rather than begrudging his fate, he entered David's life. He encourages him to endure, and both of them experience a friendship, a spiritual love that transcended barriers, family dynamics, and even hate. I share this wonderful model this morning as each of us leaves this time and this place to develop our own loving, godly, and authentic friendships. Let us pray. Wonderful God, we thank you above all things for Jesus, the one who laid down his life for us. No greater gift, we are told, than to lay down your life for a friend. May we leave here this morning aware, attentive. May we leave here available to offer our lives to others as we develop our intimate friendships. Lord God, be with us and use us as we love you and love one another. In the holy name of the one we worship, we pray all of this. Amen.